The night was calm when it began. Across the world, people looked up at the sky and saw something strange: red lights, moving slowly like blood veins across the clouds. No one understood what it was. Some thought it was a solar storm. Others said it was the northern lights spreading farther than ever before. But in less than an hour, the world realized it was something else, something not from Earth. The red lights formed shapes, long and sharp, like blades in the sky. Then came the sound, a deep humming noise that shook the ground and made every animal hide. Power grids started to fail. Satellites went silent. Airplanes fell from the sky. It was chaos, sudden and unstoppable. The red lights began to move faster, forming giant shadows that blocked the stars. People screamed, filmed the sky, prayed, or just stood frozen. And then, from the darkness above, ships appeared. Massive ships. Each one the size of a mountain, covered in glowing runes no one could read. The world's militaries tried to respond. Fighter jets took off, missiles were prepared, and world leaders tried to send messages of peace. But the ships did not answer. They hovered in silence, watching. Then, in one moment, everything changed. A beam of white light burst from the first ship and struck the city of Tokyo. There was no explosion, just a flash, and then silence. The entire city disappeared, leaving behind a crater that glowed like molten glass. Within minutes, New Delhi and Paris were gone too. The news stopped broadcasting. The internet went down. The only thing people could see were the red skies and the burning cities. Governments ordered evacuations, but where could anyone go? The aliens came from above, and they were everywhere. The red sky became a symbol of fear. People called it the burning sky. No one knew who these invaders were or what they wanted. They didn't ask for surrender. They didn't take prisoners. They simply destroyed. But not everyone gave up. In the middle of all the panic, one signal managed to break through the silence, a transmission from a hidden bunker under Colorado. It was faint, but the message repeated again and again: "They are not what they seem. We can fight back." The message spread through surviving radio channels, giving a small spark of hope. Among the few who heard it was Captain Ray Carter, a retired soldier who had seen too many wars. He had lost everything: his home, his family, his country. But when he heard that voice, something inside him woke up. He looked at the burning horizon and whispered, "If they want war, they'll get one." Across the planet, survivors started to form small groups, hiding in mountains, forests, and underground tunnels. They shared food, stories, and fear. But more than that, they shared anger. The kind of anger that burns deeper than fear. As the alien ships continued their silent destruction, something began to change. In the shadows, humans started to plan. Old military bases were reopened. Scientists began studying the debris that fell from the alien ships. Every piece of metal, every spark of energy, was a clue. The first days of invasion had been pure terror. But now, the survivors were learning. Humanity had been hit hard, but it wasn't finished. The world was bleeding, but still breathing. From orbit, the alien fleet hovered like gods, watching the small blue planet burn. They did not know what was growing below: the fire of human revenge. The red sky that once showed fear now reflected determination. The invaders thought Earth was weak. They thought humanity would bow. They were wrong. Somewhere deep underground, a group of engineers rebuilt communication systems. A scientist stared at alien technology and whispered, "We can use this." Ray Carter joined a small unit of survivors who called themselves the First Light. They believed the message from Colorado was real, and that there was a plan waiting for them. For days, they traveled through ruined cities, hiding from drones, scavenging supplies. The world above them had turned into ash and silence. Every night, they saw the red sky and remembered what they had lost. But every night, they also promised the same thing: they would make the sky blue again. The aliens had brought war to Earth, thinking humans were just another weak species to conquer. But they had no idea what humanity truly was. Humans were fighters, survivors, and creators. They had fire in their hearts and history written in blood. They didn't need miracles, they needed a reason. And now they had one. The world was quiet, the air filled with smoke and sorrow. But in that silence, the first spark of resistance had been born. The aliens didn't know it yet, but their biggest mistake wasn't attacking Earth, it was waking up the one thing they couldn't destroy, the human will to fight. Days turned into weeks after the sky burned red. Earth was quiet now, too quiet. The cities that once buzzed with life were just ruins covered in smoke and dust. The alien ships still floated above like dark clouds, watching. They didn't need to keep attacking, they had already won. Or at least, that's what they thought. But beneath the surface of the ruined planet, life was still moving. Hidden in old tunnels, abandoned military shelters, and underground cities, humans were starting to rise again. Captain Ray Carter was one of them. He had once been a soldier, trained to fight human wars. But this war was different. It wasn't about land, power, or politics. It was about survival. Ray and a small group of survivors moved through the destroyed Colorado mountains, following the mysterious signal they had heard weeks ago. It was weak, broken by static, but still repeating, "They are not what they seem. Come to Site Echo. We can fight back." Many thought it was a trap, maybe a trick from the aliens. But Ray believed it was real. He had seen enough death to know when there was still hope. After 3 days of travel, the group found the entrance, a steel door half buried under ice and rubble. The door opened with a hiss, revealing bright white lights and the faint hum of machines still working. It was like stepping into another world. Inside, they were met by soldiers, scientists, and engineers, people who had survived and gathered in secret. The place was called the Earth Defense Command, or EDC, and it had been built decades ago to protect against alien contact. No one believed it would ever be used. Until now. At the center of the base was an artificial intelligence named Argus. Its voice filled the control room, calm but powerful. "Welcome back, humans," it said. "Earth still has a chance." Argus explained everything. The invaders were called the Vrax Dominion, a race of ancient conquerors who believed they owned the galaxy. They had destroyed hundreds of worlds, enslaving any species they found. But what shocked everyone was this. Argus revealed that the Vrax had visited Earth before, thousands of years ago. They had influenced human evolution, shaping minds and DNA for war. "You are not their victims," Argus said. "You are their greatest creation." The room fell silent. The idea was impossible, but deep inside, it made sense. Humans had always been fighters, builders, survivors. Maybe that was why the Vrax feared them so much. Ray looked at the glowing screens showing alien ships orbiting Earth. "Then let's show them what their creation can do." Under Ray's command, the EDC began preparing for a counterattack. The survivors started rebuilding old military drones, repairing tanks, and using alien debris to upgrade weapons. The scientists worked day and night, testing alien energy cells and plasma shards. One young engineer named Mia discovered that alien metal could absorb and redirect heat, perfect for armor. "We can fight them with their own technology," she said proudly. It wasn't much, but it was a start. They began calling themselves the Resistance. They weren't just surviving anymore, they were preparing to strike back. Argus created holographic maps of alien ship positions, showing weaknesses in their shields. The AI had hacked into alien frequencies and learned how they communicated. The Vrax didn't know humans had cracked their code. "We will hit them where they least expect it," Ray said. "From the ground." The first mission was dangerous. A small squad would travel to the ruins of New York, where one of the alien command beacons was hidden. Destroying it could cut off communications between the ships. "If we do this right, they'll start to panic," Ray told his team. "And once they panic, they'll make mistakes." Before leaving, Argus gave them a final message. "Remember, they think you are broken. Show them you are not." The journey to New York was a nightmare. The landscape was nothing but twisted metal and ash. The sky was still red, glowing faintly like dying fire. Alien drones patrolled the skies, hunting for survivors. The team moved at night, hiding under wreckage and ruins. When they finally reached the city, it was unrecognizable. The tall buildings were now black skeletons. The air smelled of smoke and burnt steel. At the city's center, glowing symbols marked the alien beacon. It looked like a floating tower of dark glass, pulsing with light. Ray signaled his team to take positions. "No mistakes," he whispered. "In and out fast." They placed charges at the base of the tower. But just as they were about to detonate, a shadow moved above them. An alien drone spotted them. Alarms blared. The ground shook as mechanical warriors dropped from the sky. Vrak's soldiers, tall and armored, with glowing eyes. "Run!" Ray shouted. Blaster fire lit the streets. The team fought back with everything they had, using old human rifles and new alien weapons. It was chaos. One by one, the soldiers fell, but Ray pushed forward. He reached the control panel, entered the detonation code, and slammed his hand down. The beacon exploded in a flash of blue light that lit up the ruins. The aliens screamed in their strange metallic voices as the blast tore through them. The mission was complete. The humans retreated, wounded but alive. Back at the base, Argus confirmed the result. Beacon destroyed. Alien command network disrupted. "You have their attention now." Ray looked at the map showing alien movements. "Good," he said with a hard smile. "Now they know humanity is still here." The Resistance had made its first move, and the world had changed again. The Vraks had come to Earth thinking they would face a weak species, broken and afraid. But they had just awakened something far worse, a united humanity with nothing left to lose. The war for Earth had truly begun. The world was no longer silent. The explosion in New York had changed everything. The alien ships that once hovered calmly above the Earth were now moving, searching, hunting. The Vraks' Dominion had realized that humans were fighting back. From orbit, they began scanning the planet for signs of resistance. But by the time they found one base, another had already risen somewhere else. Humanity had become a ghost in its own world, hidden, unpredictable, and angry. In the underground command center, Captain Ray Carter stood before a glowing screen showing the destroyed beacon site. His body was covered in bandages, his eyes tired but fierce. Argus's calm voice filled the room. "The Vraks fleet has increased patrols around major cities. They are trying to locate our signal." Ray crossed his arms. "Good. That means they're scared." The Resistance was growing faster than anyone expected. Survivors from all over the world were joining through secret radio channels. Old military officers, mechanics, and even hackers, all working together under one goal: fight back. The captured alien debris was being turned into weapons. Drones that once delivered packages now carried explosives. Civilian trucks were turned into armored vehicles. It wasn't fancy, but it worked. Argus called it adaptive warfare. Ray called it survival. Their next mission was dangerous. They had to strike another alien control tower, this time in the ruins of London. "They use those towers to coordinate their ground units," Argus explained. "If we destroy it, we can buy time for other cells to move." Ray looked at the map. "Then London it is." The team prepared their gear. Among them was Mia, the young engineer who had designed the heat-absorbing armor. She adjusted her headset and smiled faintly. "You think they'll ever stop underestimating us?" Ray smirked. "Not until it's too late." The journey to London was long and brutal. The once great city was now nothing but twisted steel and blackened stone. The famous clock tower was half gone, its remains leaning like a wounded soldier. The streets were silent except for the sound of alien machines moving through the fog. The Resistance moved like shadows. Every step was careful. Every sound could mean death. As they reached the center, they saw it, the alien control tower. It was much larger than the one in New York, surrounded by drones and Vraks guards. The structure glowed with energy, sending pulses of red light into the sky. Argus's voice came through their earpieces. You have 10 minutes before the patrol cycle resets. Make it count. The team split into groups. Mia and 2 others began planting explosives near the base while Ray and his second-in-command, Davis, took position on the upper floors of a ruined building. From there, Ray could see everything: the tower, the guards, and the endless destruction stretching for miles. "You know," Davis whispered, "before all this, I used to bring my daughter here to feed the pigeons." Ray didn't reply. He just loaded his rifle and watched the aliens below. "We'll make sure her world comes back," he finally said. The mission was going smoothly until one of the drones detected movement. A loud alarm pierced the air. The aliens turned instantly, their glowing eyes locking onto the humans. "We're made," Mia shouted. The tower began to pulse faster. The ground trembled as massive alien walkers, machines with legs like buildings, started to move in their direction. "Argus, what do we do?" Ray barked. "Complete the mission," the AI replied. "There is no retreat." The team opened fire. Bullets sparked against alien armor while plasma beams tore through the ground around them. Ray moved fast, diving behind cover and firing at weak points Argus had marked on his visor. One of the Vrax soldiers roared as its armor cracked and its glowing core exploded. "They bleed energy, not blood," Mia shouted. "Aim for the core." Explosions shook the ruins. One of the drones crashed into a building, raining metal over the street. Ray ran toward the tower, covering Mia as she activated the detonator. "Almost there," she cried. A blast wave hit them both as an alien walker fired a plasma cannon. The air turned white-hot, the ground splitting apart. Ray shielded her with his body, barely surviving. Through the smoke, a shadow loomed, a Vrax soldier larger than the others, wearing armor made of pure light. It spoke in a harsh, metallic voice. "Humans, you are not supposed to fight. You were meant to serve." Ray stood, blood on his face, eyes burning. "We don't serve anyone." He raised his rifle and fired straight into the creature's chest. The alien stumbled, roaring in pain, and fell backward into the tower. The explosives detonated. A blinding blue explosion swallowed the structure. When the light faded, the control tower was gone, nothing but shattered crystal and smoking rubble. Argus's voice returned. "Signal confirmed. Tower destroyed." The remaining aliens retreated, dragging their wounded back to their ships. The humans stood among the ruins, exhausted but alive. "We did it," Mia whispered. Ray looked at the sky, still red but now flickering with cracks of white light. "No," he said quietly. "We just made them angry." Back at the EDC base, Argus analyzed the data from the destroyed tower. During the process, it found something unexpected, a hidden file buried deep within the alien network. "Captain Carter," the AI said, "I found something disturbing. The Vrax are not the true masters of this invasion." Ray frowned. "What do you mean?" Argus displayed an image of a strange symbol, unlike any Vrax design. "The aliens you fight are running from something else," Argus explained. "They call it the Harvesters." The room went silent. Ray stared at the glowing screen, his mind spinning. "So they're not conquering us," he said slowly. "They're hiding from someone worse." Argus's voice dropped lower. "Yes. And whatever they're hiding from is coming." The resistance members exchanged uneasy glances. The war had just changed again. Humanity had won a battle, but they had no idea what was waiting beyond the stars. The days after the Battle of the Ruins were filled with both victory and confusion. Humanity had destroyed 2 alien control towers, and for the first time since the invasion began, the sky above Earth showed faint patches of blue. But inside the Earth Defense Command, the mood was not joyful. Something darker was unfolding. Argus, the AI guiding the resistance, had discovered data inside the alien systems, data that revealed a truth no one was ready to hear. The Vrax Dominion, the same aliens that burned cities and slaughtered millions, were not conquerors by choice. They were running from something far worse. In the dim control room, The survivors gathered around the main hollow table. Argus projected strange images, massive metallic worlds, devouring planets, stripping them down to dust. They are called the Harvesters, Argus said in its calm but heavy tone. They consume entire systems. The Vrax destroyed your cities to build weapons against them. The room fell silent. Ray Carter clenched his fists. You're telling me all this death was just preparation for another war? Argus paused. Yes. They needed your planet's resources and atmosphere. To them, Earth was already lost. Mia stepped forward, her face pale. So the Vrax didn't invade to rule us, they invaded to survive? Correct, Argus replied. But they never intended to share survival. They would rather destroy humanity than risk rebellion. The truth hit like a cold wave. The enemy they hated so much was also a victim. Yet that didn't erase the blood spilled. I don't care what they're running from, Ray said. They came to our world and killed billions. We're not fighting for them. We're fighting for us. Argus's screens flickered. Then you will need to move faster. The Harvesters are coming. Across the map of Earth, small red dots began to appear, energy signals detected from deep space. They were still far away, but approaching. Humanity had maybe weeks, not months. The Resistance had no choice but to keep building, learning, adapting. Every captured piece of alien technology was studied and re-engineered. Mia and her team developed hybrid weapons, human-made rifles powered by Vrax plasma cells. For the first time, they had firepower that could damage alien armor. You see, Mia said proudly. They're not gods. They bleed like anything else. But even with new weapons, morale was low. Survivors wondered if the fight was worth it. What good was victory if another enemy was already on the way? Ray could feel it too, the exhaustion, the fear. Every night, he walked the tunnels of the base, watching people sleep on metal floors, wrapped in blankets, dreaming of sunlight. He remembered his wife and son, both gone in the first attacks. Sometimes he wished he could stop fighting. But he knew he couldn't. Humanity needed leaders, not ghosts. One evening, Argus called Ray into the command chamber. Captain Carter, I have decoded more of the Vrax data, it said. A holographic image of a planet appeared, covered in fire and black smoke. This was the Vrax homeworld, Argus continued. Destroyed 100 years ago by the Harvesters. They tried to fight, and they lost. Ray watched as the image showed giant mechanical creatures devouring cities, feeding on metal and life. How do you fight something like that? He asked quietly. You don't fight them alone, Argus replied. You unite. The meaning was clear. The only way to survive was to make peace with the Vrax. But how could they? After everything they had done? Ray didn't like it, but deep down he knew it was true. If we can talk to them, he said slowly, maybe we can find a way to survive together. Argus processed the idea. There is a possibility, it said. A Vrax command ship has landed in the Sahara Desert. They are repairing damage from your last attack. If you wish to contact them, this is your only chance. Ray gathered his team. Some thought it was suicide. Others thought it was betrayal. You want to talk to the monsters who killed us? Davis shouted. They burned the planet. Ray stood firm. If we keep fighting both them and the Harvesters, we're finished. We need to know the truth from them directly. After long debate, the team agreed. The next morning, they left for the desert in armored vehicles, traveling under the cover of dust storms. The world around them was lifeless, burned by plasma and heat. After days of travel, they finally saw it, a massive alien ship half buried in sand, surrounded by smaller drones. The team approached carefully, weapons ready. Suddenly, a voice echoed in their minds. Human soldiers, it said, deep and metallic. Do not attack. We have no war with you anymore. The Vrax were there, but not as the glowing warriors they had fought before. These ones were damaged, their armor cracked, their movements slow. One of them stepped forward, its voice trembling. The harvesters are near. If we do not fight together, all will end. Ray lowered his rifle slightly. Then tell us everything. Inside the alien ship, they saw data logs, holograms of planets destroyed by swarms of machine life. The harvesters consumed everything, organic or mechanical. Even Vrak's technology was useless against them. They didn't conquer, they erased. We built weapons, said the Vrak's commander, but it was never enough. We came to Earth because it was strong. We thought we could build an army here. Ray realized the irony. They came to enslave humanity, but humanity might be their only hope. Back at the EDC base, Argus analyzed the new information. The harvesters will reach the moon in 6 days, it reported. If they reach Earth's orbit, it will be too late. The command room went silent. Everyone knew what that meant. The next battle wouldn't be humans versus aliens. It would be life versus extinction. For the first time, Ray looked at the alien data not with hatred, but with resolve. Then we fight, he said. Together. But deep in his mind, he wondered, could he really trust the same creatures that had burned the sky? Argus interrupted his thoughts with a chilling message. Incoming signal detected, it said. From the moon. The screen flickered, showing a massive shadow moving through space. It wasn't a fleet. It was something far larger. The harvesters had arrived. The message from the moon sent a chill through every survivor left on Earth. 4 days, the Resistance had prepared, building weapons, repairing ships, and working with the Vraks to decode more of their technology. But nothing could prepare them for what came next. On the 5th night, the sky turned white. The clouds split apart as something massive moved between the Earth and the moon. It wasn't a ship, it was a shadow larger than mountains, crawling across space like a living storm. Argus confirmed it with a trembling voice. Visual contact established. The harvesters have arrived. All communication went silent as every satellite and camera pointed toward the sky. The moon began to glow with a strange, burning light. Within minutes, its surface started to crumble. Entire craters rose into the air, breaking apart as enormous metallic arms drilled into the rock. The harvesters weren't invading, they were feeding. Every piece of the moon they touched turned into dust and vanished into the black core of their machine world. From the surface of Earth, people watched in horror. The moon, the symbol of night and peace, was being devoured before their eyes. In the EDC control room, chaos erupted. They're destroying the moon's mass, shouted Mia. If it collapses, Earth's tides, gravity, everything will break. Argus's voice stayed steady but grim. Estimated time before lunar destabilization, 42 hours. Ray slammed his fist on the table. Then we need to hit them before that happens. The Vrak's leader, who now worked alongside the Resistance, stepped forward. His armor was scarred, his voice deep and slow. You cannot destroy them, he said. But we can hurt them. Enough to make them stop feeding. Ray glared at him. You said you tried that before. It didn't work. The alien's glowing eyes dimmed. Because we fought alone. Now, we fight together. For the first time in history, humans and aliens began to build a united defense. Vrak's engineers worked beside human scientists, creating hybrid weapons that combined human speed with alien power. Massive cannons were mounted on the remaining satellites. Old human warships were refitted with plasma drives. Every scrap of metal, every working drone, was turned into something that could shoot, fly, or explode. Argus called the plan Operation Eclipse. The goal was simple but desperate: launch a joint strike on the harvesters before they reached full strength. The harvester swarm was still feeding on the moon, giving them a small window of time. If we hit their core before they finish absorbing the moon, Argus explained, we may force them to retreat. It wasn't a promise, but it was hope, and hope was the only thing Earth had left. The day of the attack began with silence. The sky was filled with streaks of light as ships took off from hidden bases around the world. Human pilots flew beside Vrax's warriors for the first time, their ships communicating through Argus's network. As they broke through the atmosphere, the view was both beautiful and terrifying. The moon was half gone, replaced by a monstrous structure that looked alive, covered in moving parts, glowing veins of light, and spinning blades of energy. "So that's them," Davis whispered through the comms. "They're eating our moon." Ray sat in the command seat of a Vrax carrier, his face lit by the red glow of the controls. "Then let's make them choke." The first wave of attacks began. Human missiles streaked through space, followed by alien plasma bolts. The sky turned into fire. For a moment, it looked like they might actually win. One harvester arm was blown apart, sending molten debris flying. Cheers erupted across the comm channels. But the victory was short. The harvesters responded. Their surface opened, revealing hundreds of glowing eyes that fired beams of white light. Ships exploded instantly. Entire squadrons vanished in seconds. "They're adapting," shouted Mia from the command deck. "They're using our own energy signatures against us." Argus cut through the panic. "Redirect fire to their weak points. Focus on the outer spines." Ray gritted his teeth and gave the order. The combined fleet shifted, pouring every weapon they had into one target. Explosions rippled across the harvester's body, and for the first time, it screamed, a sound like 1,000 machines dying. "We hurt it," Davis yelled. "Keep going." The harvesters recoiled, pulling back slightly from the moon, but then something even worse happened. Smaller ships began to detach from its body. Drones, thousands of them, each the size of a building. They swarmed toward Earth like a black storm. Argus's alarms blared. "Incoming units, impact in 8 minutes." Ray's heart pounded. "They're not just feeding anymore. They're coming for us." On the ground, defenses activated all over the planet. Human and Vrax troops stood side by side, aiming plasma rifles at the sky as the swarm entered the atmosphere. The first drones hit near the Atlantic, exploding like meteors. The Earth shook. The battle had come home. In the chaos, Ray opened a secure channel to the Vrax leader. "If we don't stop them now, Earth is gone." The alien replied coldly, "Then we must do the impossible." Argus interrupted. "Captain Carter, I have an alternative solution. But it will require complete sacrifice." Ray didn't hesitate. "Tell me." Argus displayed a schematic of the harvester's core. "If we can deliver an antimatter bomb inside it, the energy may destabilize the entire swarm. But it must be placed manually." Ray understood instantly. "A one-way mission." "Yes," Argus confirmed. The Vrax leader nodded. "We can open a path, but only one ship will make it through." Ray looked at the burning sky outside the window. "Then that ship will be mine." As the harvesters darkened the horizon, humans and aliens fought together for every inch of ground. Explosions lit the night like stars being born and dying. The earth trembled under the weight of the greatest war it had ever known. Above it all, Ray prepared for his final flight, knowing that the end, or the beginning, was coming. The world was ending, and yet it had never been more alive. Across every continent, flames burned in the night as humans and Vrax soldiers stood shoulder to shoulder, fighting beneath the falling sky. The harvesters had unleashed their full wrath. Their drones rained down from the clouds like metal meteors, tearing through everything in their path. Cities that had already fallen were being destroyed again, erased from existence. But still, Earth fought. The resistance had united what was left of humanity with the remaining Vrax warriors, and now their combined army prepared for what everyone knew would be the final battle. Captain Ray Carter stood on the launch platform inside the Colorado base, staring at the massive ship before him, the Vigilant Spear. It was small compared to alien warships, but fast and built for one purpose: to carry the antimatter bomb straight into the harvester's heart. Around him, engineers and soldiers rushed to load supplies, check systems, and say their quiet goodbyes. Mia approached, her face streaked with dirt and exhaustion. "You don't have to do this alone," she said softly. Ray gave her a tired smile. I started this fight. I'm going to finish it. She looked at the bomb resting inside the ship's core, a silver sphere humming with deadly energy. If you fail, she whispered, there won't be anything left to try again. Ray nodded. Then I won't fail. Argus's voice came through the speakers. Captain Carter, final mission parameters confirmed. Estimated chance of success, 17%. Ray laughed bitterly. 17? That's better than 0. The Vrak's commander stepped forward, his armor reflecting the red glow of the base lights. Our fleet will open a path. The Harvester defenses will be heavy, but we will hold as long as we can. Ray extended his hand. The alien hesitated, then clasped it with his own massive, clawed fingers. For Earth, Ray said. For survival, the Vraks replied. The hangar doors opened, revealing the burning horizon. Dozens of human and alien ships roared into the sky, their engines painting trails of fire. The Vigilant spear lifted off behind them, shaking as it broke through the atmosphere. From orbit, the view was both beautiful and terrifying. The Harvester loomed above, a monstrous planet-sized machine wrapped in cables and glowing lights. Fragments of the moon floated around it like ghosts. Argus, Ray said, tightening his seat harness. Begin approach vector. Course locked, the AI replied. Warning, enemy activity detected in all sectors. Yeah, Ray muttered. Wouldn't be fun otherwise. Outside, the United Fleet launched its attack. Thousands of plasma bolts, missiles, and railgun shots lit up space. The Harvester responded instantly. Massive beams of white light cut through the fleet, vaporizing ships in seconds. The Vrak ships dove in first, absorbing the brunt of the attack, while human fighters weaved between the debris. Argus transmitted commands across the network, coordinating strikes with machine precision. Target its energy conduits, Ray ordered. We need an opening. The battle was chaos. Every explosion echoed through Ray's ship as he flew straight toward the Harvester's surface. Drones swarmed around him, firing bolts of plasma that shredded through his shields. Mia, he called through the radio. How's our field? Barely holding, she shouted back from the base. If you take one more hit. Not planning to, he cut in. A Vrak ship ahead of him exploded, leaving a hole in the Harvester's armor. That's our door, Ray said. Argus, take us in. The Vigilant spear dove through the wreckage, scraping against molten metal as it entered the machine's interior. Inside was a nightmare. Tunnels made of living metal, moving and pulsing like veins. This thing's alive, Ray whispered. Correction, Argus replied. It's self-replicating. Every part of it thinks. The deeper they went, the darker it became. Alarms blared as the ship systems began to fail. Structural integrity at 40%, Argus warned. Radiation rising. Just get me to the core, Ray said, gripping the controls. Behind him, the Harvester's defenses came alive. Energy tendrils lashed out, tearing holes in the walls. One struck the ship's wing, sending it spinning. Ray fought the controls as sparks flew from every panel. We've lost stabilizers. Argus shouted. Rerouting power. The ship slammed into the side of a metallic chamber, sliding to a stop. Smoke filled the cockpit. Ray coughed, blood dripping from a cut on his forehead. Status. We've reached the outer core chamber, Argus said. But the delivery system is offline. You will have to arm the bomb manually. Ray pulled himself up. Guess it's time for a walk. He grabbed his helmet and stepped out into the glowing corridor. The air was thick, humming with energy. Every surface around him pulsed like a heartbeat. You shouldn't be here, a voice echoed suddenly. Not Argus's, not human. It was the Harvester. You are nothing but dust and flesh. You cannot stop what feeds on worlds. Ray ignored it and kept walking. You took enough from us, he said. Now I'm taking something back. The core chamber was ahead, a vast sphere of swirling light. Energy surged through it like lightning. It was beautiful and terrible at once. Ray placed the bomb near the center and activated the arming sequence. "Argus," he said. "Start the countdown." "Detonation in 3 minutes," the AI replied. "Recommend immediate evacuation." Ray looked around at the endless corridors, realizing there was no way out. Not this time. Suddenly, a figure appeared in the light. It was one of the Vraks, the same commander who had fought beside him. But something was wrong. His eyes glowed brighter, his movements too sharp. "You were never meant to win," the alien said. "We are part of them now." Ray's stomach dropped. "You're one of their spies." The alien lunged forward, striking Ray's chest and sending him crashing to the floor. "You brought us here to die." Ray shouted. "You fool," the alien hissed. "You brought us to the end." They fought in the blinding light, fists and metal clashing. Ray managed to grab his rifle and fire point blank. The blast tore through the alien's core, and it fell to its knees. "For Earth," Ray whispered, pulling the final lever on the bomb. "Detonation in 1 minute," Argus announced. Ray looked up at the light above him, his breath slowing. "Tell them, we made it count." Outside, the Resistance and Vraks fleet saw a flash brighter than the sun. The Harvester screamed as its body tore apart, a wave of white fire spreading through space. On Earth, people saw the night sky turn blue for the first time in months. The war was ending, but no one knew if Ray had survived. The sky was blue again. For the first time in what felt like forever, sunlight touched the earth without turning red or black. Cities that had been shadows began to wake. Smoke still rose from the ruins, but beneath it, green shoots were growing through cracks in the ground. The war was over, or at least, it seemed that way. The Harvester was gone. The explosion in orbit had destroyed it completely, its burning fragments scattered across space like ashes. The signal from Captain Ray Carter's ship had vanished the moment the bomb detonated. Everyone believed he was gone. His name became legend. Across the world, people whispered it with pride and sorrow. They called him the last soldier. Mia stood at the edge of what used to be the Colorado base, looking up at the calm sky. The air smelled clean again. The radiation clouds had begun to fade, and birds were returning. Around her, survivors worked together, humans and Vraks alike, building shelters, repairing power grids, and planting the first crops of the new age. Humanity had changed. The war had burned away greed and pride, leaving only what mattered: survival, unity, and hope. Yet deep down, Mia still felt an emptiness that no victory could fill. She had seen Ray leave. She had heard his final words through the radio. "Tell them, we made it count." Every night, she replayed that moment, wondering if somewhere, somehow, he might still be alive. "Mia," called a voice behind her. It was Commander Soren, one of the remaining Vraks leaders. His armor was scratched and dented, but his eyes were bright. "The council is ready. They want to discuss the rebuilding plans." She nodded slowly. "Go ahead without me. I'll join soon." He hesitated, then placed a hand on her shoulder. "You humans are strange. You lose so much, yet you keep moving. My people could learn from that." She smiled faintly. "And we could learn a lot from you too." When he left, Mia took a deep breath and turned her gaze to the mountains. Something about the silence felt heavy. Not peaceful, expectant, like the world was holding its breath. In orbit, wreckage from the Harvester still floated like a graveyard. Drones were sent to study the remains, to learn from alien technology that had almost destroyed them. One of those drones suddenly picked up a signal, a faint, irregular pulse. It wasn't alien. It was human. The code was old, military grade, and it carried a simple message: still alive. The technicians in the command bunker froze. They played the signal again. Same words. Same voice. "That's Captain Carter," whispered one of them. Within hours, the news reached Mia. Her hands trembled as she read the transmission. It was weak, coming from deep space, near the edge of the moon's orbit. She ran to the communications tower and activated the long-range scanner. Ray, she called through the static. If you can hear me, this is Mia. We got your message. Please respond. For a long moment, there was only silence. Then came a broken voice, faint but real. Mia, is it really you? Tears filled her eyes. It's me, Ray. You did it. The harvester is gone. We're rebuilding. You saved us. His voice cracked with exhaustion. Did we win? Yes, she whispered. We won. There was a pause. Then he said, not yet. The signal glitched, and static filled the line. Ray, what do you mean? Where are you? His reply came slowly, each word strained. I'm inside what's left of it. The harvester wasn't just a ship, it was part of something bigger. There's another one, out here. Mia's heart stopped. Another harvester? Are you sure? I've seen the signal, Ray said weakly. It's sleeping, but not dead. It's watching. The transmission began to fade. Ray, hold on. We'll come for you. But his voice was already breaking apart. Don't send anyone. Not yet. We need to prepare. This was only the first wave. The signal went silent. For a long moment, Mia stood frozen, her mind racing. The world had barely begun to heal, and now there was the possibility of another enemy waiting beyond the stars. But there was something different this time. Humans weren't alone anymore. The Vraks had stayed. Together, they had the knowledge, the technology, and the will to defend their world. That night, Mia stood on a hill overlooking the campfires of survivors. She looked up at the sky, where the stars shimmered like tiny sparks of hope. We'll be ready, Ray, she whispered. Next time, they won't catch us unprepared. Months passed. The new world began to rise. Cities were rebuilt not as monuments of power, but as symbols of unity. Children played in the streets again. The sky stayed clear. But in the background, humanity prepared quietly for the future. Underground bases expanded, weapons were improved, and Argus, rebuilt from fragments of its old code, now served as the global defense network. The Vraks shared their technology, helping humans harness energy from the harvester wreckage. Together, they formed the Alliance of Earth, a name that carried both warning and promise. Then one morning, as dawn broke over the mountains, Argus detected something, an object entering the solar system, fast and silent. Its energy signature was faint but familiar. Mia stood in the control room, her heart pounding. Is it them? She asked. Unknown, replied Argus. But its design resembles the harvester's architecture. Estimated arrival, 47 days. The room went silent. No one spoke. Then Mia stepped forward, her eyes burning with resolve. Then we have 47 days to get ready. Around the world, alarms were raised, fleets mobilized, and new bunkers activated. But this time, there was no fear, only determination. The sky no longer belonged to invaders. It belonged to those who had fought, bled, and survived beneath it. As the sun rose higher, turning the world golden, Mia looked toward the stars. Somewhere out there, Ray Carter was still fighting, still protecting them. Maybe he was alive, maybe he wasn't, but his spirit lived in every soldier, every survivor, every child who dared to dream of peace. The aliens had brought war to Earth, but they had made one fatal mistake. They had shown humanity what it could become when pushed to the edge. And now, as the light of the new dawn spread across the world, one truth became clear. If the stars brought war again, Earth would not fall. It would rise.